Well, for more on the state of the car industry, we're joined by Martyn Briggs, automotive analyst at Frost Sullivan. Martyn, thank you very much for joining us. Well, it seems quite a gloomy picture for the European car makers industry. I mean, is that true?
I think so for Western Europe. I mean, you've picked up there on some of the flatlining and even decreasing. I think year on year we see that sales will decrease 1.2% for Western Europe. But it's more optimistic when you include Eastern European countries like Turkey and Russia are seeing double-digit growth at the moment. Obviously, it's not in the EU 27, so it hasn't been picked up on the news. But for me, as an analyst in the industry, it's something that we're looking to as a point of optimism, and for the US as well. The US is seeing year on year, I think, is 11% growth at the moment. So it's something that there is hope out there for our OEMs and the manufacturers.
So some signs of hope there, but for the bits that aren't working as well, I mean, does the industry in Europe need restructuring? Would that help the problem?
I don't think so. I think personally there's one of the key megatrends that we're seeing at the moment from our research is urbanisation, and there's a lot of people are moving towards cities, and obviously with that comes a demand for mobility. Now there seems to be a shift from what was traditionally seen from OEMs as manufacturing and supplying vehicles to a new shift in models of ownership, perhaps. So people are now prepared to start sharing vehicles and start integrating this with other modes of transport as well. And you mentioned PSA, they've started, Peugeot, Citroën, they have a couple of schemes that they're working on at the moment, such as the Mu and the Multi-City, to start to take advantage of that in Western Europe as well. So.
I gather you also think that social media is playing a part in this.
Yes, yeah. I mean, traditionally, the baby boom generation after the war have, grown up with wanting to own a vehicle. Now, that's not necessarily the same situation with the Generation Y of consumers, and that's partially because of this new connected era. There's a number of services that are available to 15 to 34-year-olds that they see as more important, perhaps, than owning a vehicle, such as connectivity. And where that's starting to lead is like a Facebook on wheels type of situation, where a number of automotive firms will start to provide services that can fill that void, such as automotive app stores, for example. That will be something that we look forward to seeing, and that they're all working on at the moment.
I was going to say, that's pretty interesting stuff. I mean, you sometimes see in cars, screens inside the cars for children to watch DVDs. We're talking about something a bit of a stage further.
Yeah, I think this would be a lot more advanced, purely because on the one hand it's to answer the connectivity, the infotainment side of things, but also the safety legislation that you mentioned from the EU meeting this week. So once you start to integrate those two services, there is a number of intelligent transport systems that can be integrated within the car, and we see this mobility integration with not just OEMs but also telecommunications providers and also a number of other technology providers, and that could include anyone from Google to Apple to any major players. And where I think that's really interesting is, of course, the point of sale doesn't stop at the garage, at the manufacturer's garage. If I decide that I'm lost at the Bloomberg studio and want to navigate my way back to Frost Sullivan, I could download a navigation app whilst I'm outside. And that's the future, in my view, is that there's ongoing revenue models that then ensure consistent growth of these guys.
That sounds all pretty expensive, though. I mean, are they doing anything to be able to negate that cost, to bring it down?
Yeah, you're right. Traditionally, it's been quite for the luxury market. However, there's an example of something like Renault with their link up with TomTom to provide personal navigation devices embedded in the vehicle, and with that live traffic services. Once you start to get aftermarket companies going to a number of OEMs, the cost will come down, and it's significantly cheaper to use that type of technology now than it was, say, 10 years ago. So the cost will start to, also to mention, is cloud-based services. So these won't be embedded within the vehicle. It will be either replicating your smartphone or through an OEM's cloud-based service, and that's where the cost will really come down.
Okay, thank you very much. Really interesting stuff. Martyn Briggs from Frost & Sullivan, thank you very much for joining us.